Hello, everyone. Yossi Gestetner here for GestetnerUpdates.com. It's an honor to have with me here Councilman Lew Fidler from New York City, of course. He serves the public for, I think, almost a decade in this position, and he's now running for the special state Senate election, which is up for a vote in less than 2 months. Hello, Mr. Councilman.
Hi, Yossi. Shalom Aleichem.
Aleichem Shalom. Thanks for giving us a few minutes, and I won't make it too long and too tough for you, if you will.
Take as long as you like.
All right. Back in the New York 9 vote in September, pundits gave many reasons why Turner, a Republican, won the election. They said Israel, referendum on Obama, economy, same-gender marriage, lousy candidate. The Orthodox community is shifting to the right. What's your take on all this, and what's your lesson, if you will, from that election?
You know, my first feeling, Yossi, is that's inside baseball, as they say, that most people aren't so interested, except for those of us who do this for a living, as to what, why, and what went wrong for Dave Weprin and what went right for Bob Turner in the New York 9 election. I think people are more concerned about finding common sense in government, finding people that they can trust, and I believe and I hope that that's what the Senate election is going to be about. But I don't want people to feel that I'm dodging a question, so I'll say there are a zillion different reasons, and those of us who truly understand politics know that the reason that one voter jumped to Bob Turner is different than the reason that the next voter jumped to Bob Turner. I'm sure many, if not most, of the issues that you laid out were a factor. I think most of those factors aren't present in my Senate race.
Yeah.
Certainly many of the people who had traditionally supported Democrats but supported Bob Turner or supporting Lew Fidler in this race, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, that's, considering that the Orthodox community is moving to the right, and again, I think the Orthodox vote in this specific election as a percentage, I didn't check it, but I think is smaller than it is in New York 9. But regardless, it's still there. It can be a deciding factor if there is a real head-to-head race developing here. But considering that the community is moving to the right, what as a candidate makes you different than, say, David Weprin? And again, I don't want to play again the New York 9 game, but it's and maybe, as you said, I'm just too into politics and political strategy, and I'm thinking about it too much, and this is what I do for a living. Okay, so I hope listeners and readers will forgive me for this, but
I forgive you, Yossi. So let me just say that I guess what will distinguish this for us is that I have a lifelong history of working with our local Brooklyn community religious leaders on causes of importance to the Jewish community, to the Orthodox community in particular. It just, when you know somebody on a first-hand basis, when you've worked with them to build affordable housing in Crown Heights during the 15 years that I was counsel to the Crown Heights Jewish Community Council and supported them through the pogrom. When you worked with UJO in Williamsburg on issues regarding fairness and discrimination, when you stood up with the Dov Heikens and the David Greenfields on issues of anti-Semitism, when you've been the lawyer who represented a young Israeli student who was brought up on what could only be called political correctness gone crazy at the Brooklyn College campus in the 90s. When you're the guy who went to a Beis Din to save a shul on Flatlands Avenue in Schenectady, a shul that's still there today, a synagogue that has a minyan every day and has had a yeshiva in it. People know you and understand who you are and where you're coming from, and no one will ever I think, fairly question my core values as a committed Jew. I am not embarrassed to stand up and speak out, as a Jew, even though I'm a Jew, on behalf of Jews. That's who I am, and I don't apologize for it, and I will never change.
No, I think it's your laws that I don't live in your district, because if yes, you got my vote just by this drusha. Pointing out your broad record on these many issues, I think definitely can persuade voters to vote one way or another. And as you said a moment ago, that some of the issues which played a role in New York would certainly not play a role in. Obviously, that's a House at federal level, and this is a state, more local level race. One of the issues, obviously, which everybody wants to make an issue, or it is an issue, is the issue of Israel. Now, in the state Senate, in day-to-day life, it doesn't come up. Recently, we had the Disinvestment Act, I think it's called. And I'm sure you as anybody else would support it, no question about it. But what I'm wondering, and again, maybe I'm again going to the inside baseball tactic here, maybe your opponent will try to make Israel as an issue because it worked all the way around. Because some people think that President Obama doesn't have a quote-unquote pro-Israel issue. And you as a Democrat in the race, he as a Republican may try to use it. But again, if everything were up to you, definitely you would focus on your record, your background, and what lays ahead of you. But an election is beyond the control of one candidate and one strategist. Of course. So the question is, if the Middle Eastern, issues get laid on your feet, how would you eat it?
Well, look, I'm an independent Democrat, and I speak my mind. I am not a big fan of what my president has done in the Middle East. Not all good, not all bad. And believe you me, I have a very, very strong pro-Israel record of my own. Just this past year in the City Council, I was the sponsor and author of a resolution essentially condemning the United Nations for celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Hate Fest at Durban. Something which, by the way, the president has done the right thing on. The United States chose not to participate. I got 41 out of 51 council members to support, to co-sponsor that resolution with me. And we only didn't move it at the request of Deputy General Counsel Kaufman, who said the statement of introducing it is sufficient by itself. And nonetheless, my colleague Charles Barron stood up on the floor of the City Council and chose to excoriate me for it, and then like a chicken ran out of the room before I could respond. I mean, I am certainly going to stand up and say what I believe. And so if anyone has any questions, let me just state that my position on the Middle East is that the United States is obligated to support any reasonable position that the government of Israel takes. Any reasonable position. I don't think the 1967 borders were defensible. I think, to expect Israel to go back to that is absurd, and I think that should not make this an issue. In fact, let him make it an issue. I guarantee you my support for Israel over the years has been greater and longer standing than my opponents. So again, basically you're saying in a nutshell that you have a broad record to run on local and domestic issues, just as you have in Middle East in general. Let me throw something else in, Yossi, because it's important. All right, it's important. We have a Congress member from the city of New York who voted against condemning the Goldstone report. In the chamber of the City Council and in numbers of occasions, I've excoriated that Democratic member of Congress. And I'll say right here that until and unless I'm convinced that that Democratic colleague of mine has proven to me that she understands Israel, understands the Middle East, understands what's really going on there, I will not support her. So, people have to understand who I am. I mean, you can paint with a broad brush, I'm a Democrat and therefore. Not every Democrat agrees with every Democrat. I've crossed party lines when I thought it was a moral imperative. And it's something that I've done. And I'll tell you something else. Charles Barron is running for Congress right now. If he's the Democratic nominee, I will not support him either. So I want to just be very, very clear. I have a moral compass. I know right from wrong. I don't have to agree with my president 100% of the time. But and when I don't agree with him, he'll know, all right? Even as a state senator, he'll know.
All right, strong enough argument. I wouldn't, persuasive stuff. But speaking of as you said, the moral compass. Let me try to take it a little bit. Same gender marriage. Where do you come down on this issue? I think maybe again my information is wrong, but I think you come down on the side more as the center-left Democrats would than say with center-right people such as the Orthodox Jewish community. What's your position? Because again, maybe you will choose not to make it an issue, but you can rest assured that the people in the community who like to bring this up forefront will make this an issue if it's relevant in this race. So where do you come on this issue?
Gay marriage is the law in New York. Thank God it contains the appropriate religious protections. It would take 10 state senators to change their opinion for that law to change. I'd like to think that this election is going to be about things that actually can be done going forward by the next state senator, but doing things that matter in people's lives. And truthfully, I think in the Orthodox community, I think there might be more and greater interest in issues like how we make paying yeshiva tuition more affordable for middle-class families. Having a state senator who truly understands that. Now, I don't send my kids to yeshiva. I am not an Orthodox Jew. I don't pretend to be. As I referred to myself before, I'm a committed Jew. But I do send one child to college and one child to law school. And just having those two private bills to pay, I can only imagine and empathize how a family with 4 or 5 kids who are paying tuition from the lower grades on through high school and on how life must be for them. And I think that the next state senator is going to have to grapple with that rather than discuss an issue that has been resolved by the prior state senate, in all likelihood, with political finality.
Whether the person agrees with it or not, Yeah. All right, I'll ask you one more question, and I'll wrap it up with this. One of the issues which is recent came up to the forefront a lot is the anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish acts. So one case I think people say, or the investigators believe it's not conclusive that maybe it was just an insurance scam, but put that issue aside, there were many incidents in New York and New Jersey. So I'm just wondering what's your take as to what the cause may be, and what can the state senate do to make a difference? It shouldn't happen again, and if the Senate can do anything, why hasn't much been done until now?
Well, let me say that I have never been shy about jumping up and speaking out against bigotry, and certainly no less so when it comes to Jews. Again, I make no apology for being Jewish and standing up when my own community is offended by hate crimes and stupidity. I sometimes wonder, and you even referenced the fact that there is some thought by the police department that some of these acts are actually been committed by Jews to cover other events and other things they were doing. And sometimes I'm not sure whether that's even worse than someone who truly hates in their heart. I mean, that someone would be so callous, Jewish or non-Jewish, to paint swastikas someplace to cover up a crime that was actually financially or personally motivated. In either case, it's disgusting. And, we need to do more to educate people. We need to do more, we need to never allow an event in a situation where someone has done either of those things to go unnoticed and unspoken about. I've said this before, silence is not and is never an option. We had, about a year ago or so, the hateful folks from the Westboro Baptist Church come to picket 2 of our yeshivot. I went. I didn't send out a press release, Lew Fidler is going. I went to let them know that I would not be cowed by their catcalls and bigotry and anti-Semitism. And you know what I did when I got there? I grabbed a couple of the yeshiva boys, and I walked over to 5 feet away from where these hateful people were protesting, and I put on tefillin. Now, I don't do that every day, and I don't say that to say I'm proud or not proud. I do it to let you know that I thought That was the appropriate response in the face of bigots and anti-Semites, to show them that I will never be ashamed of who I am,